Hi guys, thank you for joining me on this fragrance video. They have been quite sporadic, as you probably noticed. I don't do these particularly often these days. And I know I say that every time I make a video, but it does often go months before I get round to one. I've got a couple that I'm going to do today. This is the first of those, and it is Prada Luna Rossa Carbon. Now this fragrance was released back in 2017, and if I'm honest, I was very dubious when I first smelled this. It wasn't a fragrance I expected to have in my collection at all, but as time's gone on, I'm actually glad that I have. The reason why I was dubious is because at first sniff this smells like just a complete and utter rip-off of Dior Sauvage. And if you've been watching my channel for a while, you know that I have kind of a love-hate relationship with Sauvage, in the respect that I like it but I don't, because it's sort of medicinal and chemical-y, and I don't know, it's a weird fragrance. Some people absolutely love it. I do like it, but then I kind of feel that I really shouldn't, for the reasons I've just mentioned. But anyway, this is a fragrance that came out a couple of years later and really rides the wave of Sauvage, which made me think it was just a carbon copy, a complete and utter rip-off, and therefore not bottle worthy. But I was purchased this as a birthday present. Obviously wore it initially, possibly of obligation a little bit, but grown to really like it, and it is an absolute compliment getter. Now, don't be put off by the comparisons with Sauvage, because I'm going to explain why it's different. Now, as I said, at first sniff you will think this is a Sauvage copy, but it evolves, it becomes its own fragrance, it becomes actually something quite beautiful. Now, to give you a bit of background for this fragrance, it was created by Danielle Roche-Andrea, probably not pronouncing her name correctly, but she's really one of the in-house perfumers at Prada. She's really the nose behind the entire Luna Rossa line, as well as the Infusion line, which is more unisex. She's done a couple of fragrances in the past for Gucci, but really she is associated primarily with Prada. Now, just to give you the breakdown of this fragrance in terms of notes, the top notes are bergamot, should I say, and pepper. In the mid, you've got lavender, metallic notes, water notes, something called soil tincture, and coal. Now, I'm not aware of any other fragrances off the top of my head that contain coal, and I'm not actually sure what soil tincture is. Whatever it is, I won't recognise it. I don't recognise coal as a smell in this, but certainly I do recognise that there is some lavender coming through, and it does have a metallic feel. Like Sauvage, the fragrance it copies, that has a kind of more chemical, sort of industrial edge to it. This is certainly there. But the main thing is that the base, which has patchouli and ambroxan. Now, ambroxan is the main standout note of Sauvage, and you'll see it here, but it's more in the opening with this. Whereas Sauvage is quite a linear fragrance, linear in the respect that once you smell it, it smells the same all the way through. This does move into a different area as it dries down. It becomes a scent in its own right, less of a copy. I mean, with the patchouli and the ambroxan in there, lavender, which is a staple of fragrances for a long time, I think probably someone like Aaron, who's one of the main fragrance reviewers now, has his own line of fragrances. He would probably call it painting by numbers, but you know, because it looks like the makers of this have tried to do something that goes with the zeitgeist of the time, you know, rides the back of the popularity of fragrance like Sauvage, but also possibly to an extent fragrances like Acqua di Gio Profumo, although this doesn't smell anything like that, but patchouli is there, and that is the main fragrance in that. If I give you sort of a few comparisons, as I say, to Sauvage, because this is a fragrance in its own right, one thing I would say is it's not as chemically as Sauvage. Now, Sauvage is quite harsh. This is more smooth. It does have that metallic edge, but it isn't punching. If I was comparing it to anything in the Sauvage range, I would go more towards the Sauvage Eau de Parfum, because that, in my opinion, is a bit more refined, is a little bit smoother, and that's something what I got here. But as I say, it becomes something in its own right. So once it's dried down, it becomes a little bit sweeter and actually a little bit kind of soapy. Still metallic, but soapy. if that kind of makes sense. Now, soapy is really the signature sort of scent DNA of all Prada fragrances, and you're certainly going to get this in this one. What else can we say about this? Well, if we cover off the bits that people consider to be important, which are things like projection and longevity. Projection is fairly decent. It's not over the top. It's certainly not out there and monstrous like Sauvage is. This is more refined, a little bit closer, and you're probably going to get, I don't know, 3 feet from this, not masses. But still respectable. People will smell this on you when they're up relatively close, which nobody outside of your household should be relatively close to you currently because of social distancing, but that's another matter. Anyway, in terms of longevity, again, fairly decent, middle of the road. I'd probably say 7 out of 10. You'll get probably 5-6 hours out of this. It's not one of those that's going to linger on your clothes and on yourself for a long time, but you're still going to be able to enjoy it. I'd possibly say for the first hour is when you're really going to notice. After that, it may slip away from your own nose, but other people will still certainly better smell you on it, still better enjoy it, and you will still get some compliments. Now, moving on to season. Well, it doesn't really have one. I'd say this is quite a versatile fragrance, probably could be worn the year round. Decent in summer, but definitely could wear it in the colder weather. Not so much as an outdoor winter fragrance, but if you work in, say, a climate controlled office, it would make a decent fragrance for that. It's not going to offend anybody. It isn't going to punch people in the nose like Sauvage does. As I said before, it's a more toned down, refined kind of version, but with its own elements, and very much is a fragrance in its own right. Anyway, I've said enough about that for now. Oh, before I go, I'll show you one last thing, because I know some people do care about presentation and boxes, so if you care about what the box looks like, there you go. It looks like that, similar to the bottle, black at the top, silver at the bottom, with that trademark Prada red line down it, pretty much similar to that. Personally, I don't care too much about boxes. They're just a vessel for carrying the bottle, but I know some people are into it, so that's what you can expect if you do go out and buy a copy of this. Anyway, thank you for joining me. Please do look out for my other videos, and I'll see you soon.